everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with roll call. Ms. Annette?
Gina Castellano, Abraham Mendoza,
Present.
Linda Patrick, Johanna Schick,
Present. Sorry.
Present.
Jacinder Hall Singh, Sharon Solero.
I'm present.
Naja Steger.
Present. Thank you so much. Now we'll introduce our new member, Miss Sharon Solero. Did you want to give us just a brief summary or a brief introduction of who you are?
Hi,
Where
everybody.
you're from? So go ahead and push.
Oh, yeah. My name is Sharon Solero. I live in Manteca, California. I'm so honored and pleased to be a part of this group, this committee. My whole mantra in life is to make sure that the world is a better place after I leave it than when I am in it. So hopefully that can be helpful and constructive. I've been in the field of EEO for about 30 years. I retired from a federal job in 2014. I started a small business, did a little work, and then I just stopped in 2018 and called it a day. But since then, I find myself with quite a few hours on my hands, and I've worked with an interfaith group, and I do training, and I kind of like to keep my skills as current as I can because I need to keep my mind busy. So thank you all for welcoming me here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're really, really thankful that you're here. So if we'll go ahead and do approval of the minutes from meeting February 1st, I'll entertain a motion if we've had time to review the minutes.
This is Johanna. I can make that motion with one amendment. So under item 4, approval of minutes on the minutes, there is a sentence that needs to be struck, and the sentence is, "The motion was approved by Johanna Schick," because you'll see that the previous sentence was, "The motion was made by Johanna Schick." So if you could just strike that, then I would move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Linda Patrick, I second.
Thank you, Linda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move on to self-introductions of visitors in attendance. Can we start with Ms. Annette Rivas?
And before I start, I just wanted to add, if there are any coordinators or visitors on the Teams meeting, please type your name and department name in the chat. My name's Annette Rivas.
Constance Bibbs, Human Resources.
Oriana Mahoney, Human Resources.
Layetta Finister from HSA.
Michael Lee, HR.
Rachel Novetsky, Human Resources. Lisa Needy, Human Resources.
Nicole DeVincenzi, Human Resources.
Kim Delacruz, Sheriff's Office.
Mike Judson, Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and then if we can go back for roll call, Ms. Gina Castellano is present.
My apologies. Finding a parking is not the easiest.
Okay, so we'll open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the EEO program report. Ms. Constance?
Thank you. So there, as far as Civil Service Rule 20 complaints, there are 18 complaints currently in some phase of the formal complaint process. The protected categories and/or conduct currently at issue are age, race, medical condition, gender, gender expression, sex, sexual harassment, marital status, color, national origin, physical or mental disability, political affiliation or belief, religion, creed, and retaliation. Out of the 18 complaints, about 5 of these complaints are either closing within 30 days or are in the final stages of the complaint process. Currently, the EEO has 0 requests for an appeal hearing. I want to talk about the government leadership training compliance. This training is designed to assist and ensure individuals in understanding the roles and responsibilities of being a committee member. As such, the county requires committee members to attend this training within 90 days of appointment. And our office will reach out to individuals who may need to complete this training. I did hand out new notebooks to the new members who have joined, and just because we've had such quite a bit of turnover, I did go ahead and provide a notebook for all the other members as well. Feel free to keep the materials inside. If you don't need the notebook, you can just leave it after the meeting, or you can take the notebook if you need it. But that particular binder does have information in it regarding the training, and all of the members should have received it from our office, this information about the training as well. The ethics training is also required. Committee members need to attend the ethics training, and our office either has or will reach out to individuals who need to complete the training as well. And the EEO office has also updated the EEOAC roster, and a copy was emailed to all of the members. So, that concludes the EEO program update.
Thank you, Constance. We'll move on to old business. Ms. Oriana?
Hello, everybody. Oriana Mahoney here. I am going to show you guys a sample that RDJ, not to be mistaken with Iron Man, but our version of Iron Man, helped to create with the website. One of the things that we decided to do here with the committee was to be more visible in the community. And we've been really striving to work really hard to make sure that we are meeting that goal. One of the ways in which we decided to do that was I came to this committee with some proposals on ways that we can sort of push the envelope on how we were viewed from individuals within the community as well as our own staff. So we decided that one of the things we wanted to do was create a web page on our main county website that really highlighted who our committee members were, along with a bunch of other information that we're looking to be able to add onto that web page so that it gives an outward-facing visual of what we're doing here in San Joaquin County. So we developed this website this web page on our main sjgov.org website that is going to host a bunch of information around the EEOAC and what it is that this committee is in charge of, responsible for, and the things that we want to have as outcomes for your roles. So if you look on the screen now, you will see that this is just the beginning sample of it. We wanted to bring it all to you here, just as we discussed, so that you guys can, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down. We're going to modify it as we go along, but we really wanted to just give you guys a sneak peek at what we're looking at for our webpage. The EEOAC mission statement is something we're going to be working on in a couple of line items from now, but if the wording or verbiage changes, we'll update that. If we do make changes to our current mission statement is up there though. And then our vision statement on workplace diversity is a county-wide vision statement on workplace diversity, as is the definition of workplace diversity. We're not going to change that language. That's a much larger piece of the pie that we don't necessarily hold full responsibility for, so we're not going to change those, but we may potentially work on the vision. I think it was really important, though, that we had all three listed there on our main page so that people can see exactly what it is that we're looking and hoping to do within the community. So if you could scroll down a little, Rob. So along with the mission statements, can you go more? Is that it? Okay, so this main page really just gives sort of that background information, but if you go up, there's a lot of useful pieces that will come along in this page. So before we click on board members, if you look over there to the right, we have documents and videos. The goal is under documents to have all of our meeting minutes and our agendas listed directly here on the site so that people can go back to past meetings, see what we discussed in our minutes, as well as have those agendas listed there. The videos could be a multitude of things. If we as a committee say, hey, we found this video that we really feel like we should present to the community, we can post it on there, assuming copyright laws, or any videos that we make. So one of the things that we're also going to discuss today is this idea of creating sort of a welcome video and a new committee member welcome video. So with that, all of that will be listed on this page as well. So individuals can go to this site, watch those videos, review all of the documents, and see what's upcoming for our next meetings. There will also be the schedule. We'll put the calendar and schedule on this page as well so that you know when the next meeting is being held. And then if you can go to, yes, the board members. So you were all charged with some homework, and thank you for everybody who got their homework assignment to us. It's really appreciated. So we asked for a photo and a bio, and we've included those on this page. So now, if people have a question about who are these members on the EEOAC, they can go to this page and get a little more information on your experience and background. If you're a new member and you haven't turned in your bio and photo yet, then you can go ahead and get that over to us and we will get that updated. This page isn't really live just yet, as we're trying to make sure that we fine tune it, but we wanted to give you guys an idea of where we were going with this. So this is the page, and I just want a huge thank you to Rob, Robert Johnson, our tech extraordinaire over there, who really got this going for us. So thank you. Yep. All right. Any questions or? Does anyone have an extra pen? Oh, I did.
I wonder, not now, but at some point in the future, if it might make sense to also, in addition to documents and, what was the other item up there?
Documents, calendars, videos. Documents, calendars, videos.
Okay, I didn't hear the calendars, because I was thinking it'd be good to have an events section, so we should fall under perhaps under calendar, I don't know. But some way of, just an additional way of advertising or highlighting events. And you could even do like photos of the event afterwards and, things like that.
That was the sample webpage with current mission and bios. Do you want me to move on to the workshop on mission statement? So just dive right in? Okay. All right. So one of the other homework assignments that was handed out was to review our current mission statement. So our mission statement has been around for a while, and the verbiage is up there currently. And we did receive some feedback on some potential language changes that we might want to hold for a new mission statement. And I'm going to read over what we have up there. So our current mission statement reads, The EEOAC will provide advice to the Board of Supervisors that will enhance the working environment for all county employees and promote the rich diversity of county residents. So that's our current mission statement. So I'm going to now read a couple of the submissions for some changes to the language. And then at that point, we're all going to just sort of go around the room and choose words that we want to omit or add so that we can come out with a clean mission statement. And that's really the goal of this little workshop, is to just make sure that we're confident and secured in what we want to choose for that mission statement. So I have EEOAC provides guidance on the county's effort to provide an inclusive workplace culture that reflects the diversity of the community. I have the EEOAC provides guidance on the county's efforts to attract and retain a workforce reflective of the diverse community they serve. And the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee, EEOAC, will partner with county staff and the community to advance the Board of Supervisors' commitment to attract and retain a diverse workforce that is reflective of the residents of San Joaquin County. Does anybody have anything in the mission statements that, the current mission statement or any in the recommended changes, any words or verbiage that really stands out for them that they know they want to hold in this next piece?
You can always count on me to say something. So I like the word partner. So EEOAC partners. I think that's a nice, I think it kind of captures the spirit of working together.
Thank you, Johanna. Any other words that stand out for people?
Yeah, I do like the word inclusive and also community as well. And I have a question. Where is this going to live? On just the webpage?
In any documents that the EEOAC may put out that has that mission statement, so it will be visible on the webpage, and I believe that it's also already on our EEO webpage, which is our county departmental page, so it would sit there as well.
It also gets published in our EEO plan.
Yeah.
So those documents, to me, this seems like it already has EEO already spelled out on those documents, right? So I would recommend we use we versus the EEO. Makes it, you can shorten it up a little bit.
I like the use of present tense rather than future tense. So, rather than we will partner or we will provide, it's we provide, or, we partner with.
I like the part of commitment to attract and retain a diverse workforce that's reflective of the residents of San Joaquin County.
Yeah, I like that too.
Anything else from anybody? If I can just interject a little bit, one thing that I noticed that was very different from our original mission statement that was in two different submissions was providing guidance instead of providing advice, right? So that might be something that you guys want to keep in there, in that it looks like a couple of people had that same thought process of that we're providing guidance as opposed to providing advice.
I do like the fact that we have, the second one here, attract and retain, because there's two fronts going on there, right? It's one, it's folks that aren't part of the county already, the workforce, so we're trying to reach out to them and say, hey, come work for us, and then retain them. When we use the word provide, an inclusive workplace, to me that just speaks to the county employees that are in place. It's not speaking to reaching out to the community. So something to think about.
I like shorter rather than longer. So, because it's easier to remember if it's not a paragraph. So the more succinct we can be.
Linda, I also like the phrase commitment to attract and retain a diverse workforce. And I like the word partner.
I'm curious how the other committee members feel about the idea of a workforce that reflects the diverse community they serve. I kind of like that link. It's like that's kind of the whole purpose of having a diverse workforce is, not only are we better at, by having diverse thoughts in the process of decision-making, but we're also better in accomplishing our missions of serving the community. So I kind of liked that link back to reflective of the diversity of the community, but I'm curious what other people think.
I think that's important also. It looks like all three of the suggested changes have that language in there in some manner.
So I've pulled a little bit of the language, which may be a little bit wordy, but from what you all gave, so I'll just read out what I pulled and kind of strung along. We provide guidance to the Board of Supervisors as we partner with county staff to advance the county's commitment to attract and retain a diverse workforce reflective of the community we are in service to.
I do like better the community that we serve as opposed to in service to.
Okay.
And I appreciate you putting in advance. I wanted to say I do like that it, to me, it shares a vibe of action.
For the sake of brevity, I would say I kind of like just keeping it at a very high level. And I will confess, I think that the first two submissions may have come from the same person, and I think I might know who that person was. So I don't know that that guidance thing was really a strong, it was I think it was out of my brain. So I personally don't feel a need to provide guidance in there. But I also like keeping it broader and referencing it to the county rather than the Board of Supervisors and staff and that kind of thing. So that would be my preference.
Could we take the Board of Supervisors out and just say to advance the commitment to attract and retain?
Yeah, or
Is that what
to
you're
advance
saying?
the county's commitment
Or
to
the county's commitment.
attract and retain. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I've kind of mixed the first two together.
Yeah.
To read something like this. We provide guidance on county efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve. A little long.
A lot shorter than what I had, so. Do you want to repeat that so that folks can let that set in?
Sure. We provide guidance on county efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve.
One more time.
We provide guidance on county efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve.
Does anybody have any thoughts around that? Does everybody feel comfortable with that language? Is there anything that you want to shift in that language?
I'm not great with shifting, but for me, it is important to include the partnership between the committee and the county staff.
So maybe it's, we partner with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the community they serve.
Can you read that one more time, Joanna?
Yeah, make sure I got the rest of it the same as what you said. That we partner with the county's efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the community that we serve. Did I get the ending right?
The ending was that reflects the diversity of the community we serve.
Okay.
All right, let's try that one more time. Go ahead, Johanna, and then you can finish us off, Abe.
All right. So, see if I can
I'm like,
remember.
I type much faster than I write,
We-
so I'm-
We partner with the county in its efforts to attract and retain
An inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve.
All right, let's go one more time so that everybody can hear that and see if there's any changes they want to make.
Okay. We partner with the county's efforts to attract and retain
An inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve.
I have a question. Johanna, you read it two different ways, and I want to know which way the committee likes it. You said, the first time you said we partner with the county in its efforts to retain and everything else. And the second time you said we partner with the county's efforts.
Yeah. I think we partner with the county in its efforts personally. A more accurate statement. I saw other nodding heads, but, okay.
I'm sorry, we said that their effort to attract and retain an inclusive workforce. Okay, I'm reading what's here. Were we
Can you
saying
read your last part,
workplace or
Abe?
workforce?
I have workplace here. So retain an inclusive workplace that reflects the diversity of the community we serve. So it could be
I would say
workforce.
workforce, right, maybe.
I agree with that.
I agree. I think workforce would be more appropriate.
Okay. That reflects the diversity. Yeah, I like it.
All right, I think I got it. Let's see. We partner with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that is reflective of the diverse community we serve.
That reflects rather than is reflected, right?
That reflects the diverse community we serve.
Yeah, and so do we want it to say the diverse community we serve or the diversity of the community we serve?
I like diverse community.
Shorter.
So let me try it again. We partner with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that reflects the diverse community we serve.
It's good.
Good? We got something done? Okay, so then you guys need to vote on that.
I'll make a motion to approve as stated. Do I have a second? Oh, okay. Thank you, Sharon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
We, are we saying the word we or the
I think we should say the E EEOAC. Because
We're
it's a statement.
partnering.
Because I was looking at like the EEOAC partners with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce, which reflects the diverse community that we serve.
The EEOAC partners with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that reflects the diverse community we serve.
Yes.
I also would like to ask, I guess, I'm sorry. Can we spell, for this piece, can we spell out EEOAC so that it's, okay.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee partners with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that reflects the diverse community we serve.
Okay, hang on. Two things.
Yeah.
Number one, I would say that this statement would exist on a piece of paper that says the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee's mission statement. So therefore, the mission statement itself doesn't need to repeat all of that. So you could either just say the EEOAC partners, or you could just say EEOAC partners, or I think an argument could be made, as Abe made earlier, that you could just say we, because you're going to have that heading that says, this is what this is. It's not just going to say mission statement, it's going to say the equal employment opportunity. So that's my first point. My second point is, a little grammatical thing here, is that the subject of the sentence is the EEOAC. That's who it is. So then the community we serve, I think we're talking about the community the county serves, not the EEOAC serves. And so I think it should be the community it serves. So, well, even that might not be right.
I don't see the word, oh.
So,
Well, I mean, the EEOAC does kind of, I mean, everyone here is coming from different parts of the community. Some people are also employees, and you guys are serving the community. I mean, an argument can be made that you guys are serving the community by being the, the watch people.
The representatives, and so
Yeah,
it's sort of a
or-
collective we, right? So we, the EEOAC members, and we, the county, are serve these members of the community.
all right, I won't, it's not a hill I'm going to die on.
I will say, just to your first point, here at the top, it says EEOAC mission statement. So can we spell out EEO there?
Yes.
Then it makes sense in the other
Yeah,
to
I
have
agree.
just we or the EEO.
You can even spell it out and then put EOC
Right.
in parentheses by it.
So then, okay. So with all of
Well,
those amendments.
so then the question becomes, do we want it to say
We?
EEOAC, or do we want it to say we?
I don't like we. But
You said,
said I don't like we.
oh, okay.
I just think it more appropriate and more formal to have EEOAC.
Any other
Reflects
feelings or
diverse
objections on that?
community the EEOAC serves.
No, just the beginning, either
Just say the word
EEOAC or
So
we.
the EEOAC partners with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that reflects the diverse community we serve. So leaving it at the EEOAC. All right, so we're ready for a vote, I believe.
So I'll make a
So,
motion to.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, I mean, just one more thing you guys could think of or consider is that, in just kind of thinking about that we serve, it could say something like, what the EEOAC partners with the county in its efforts to attract and retain an inclusive workforce that reflects the county's diverse, the diverse community, or you can just say the county's diverse community,
Period.
I like the serve, though. I like
or
that
the
serving
diverse
is-
community that the county serves. Because
that
I mean, you
reflects?
can go either way, or just, I was just throwing it
I
out there.
think the
food for thought.
collective "we" though was,
Yeah.
I'm happy
is,
with
is
it.
sort of
And it-
foundational. You
research
Yeah,
can,
well, and it makes sense because right before it, you said the EEO and we partner with the county,
Right.
so now we're
The
saying
collective we,
so that
yes.
you give that whole collective.
so we
Is
had
there
a
any-
motion.
Okay, yes, I'll make a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. Okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. And thank you, Oriana, you have quite a bit here. So, on review and assignment of the draft welcome orientation scripts.
Great, thank you so much, Naja. So one of the other things that we discussed in this process was to come up with some ways of describing what it is that the EEOAC does. And we talked about developing a video which would encompass a little bit of information. And I know that there was a lot of conversation around what kind of information should be a part of that video. So part of it was, what does the EEOAC do as a whole? And then what is the actual EEOAC? Where does it fit into the larger organizational structure? So there was a lot of conversation around that. I know that a lot of those conversations were had with committee members that aren't here anymore. So really, it's a matter of you all determining what information you want to have in this video. And just to give a quick little background, each one of you will have a piece of the pie to record so that there is the face attached to the committee as well as, so it's going to be a combination video made of some live in-person video from yourselves and from PowerPoint. So the way that I've outlined it is I created the PowerPoint with sort of script language that would go along with that PowerPoint. The goal of today is for you guys to look at some of the topics, pick which topic really speaks to you so that you can choose, I want to touch upon that topic. And then you can go back with the language that's written in here, modify it to be your own. And then we will, at the next meeting, thank you, we will have you guys, again, another homework assignment of modifying the language so that you could send it to us so that we could create the cohesive script that's really more in your tone, because you will be the one presenting on that particular topic around understanding the EEOAC.
So has the content of the, it's like, there's a lot of information here.
Yes.
So if I were looking at this, in some ways, there's information that I would probably not include because it
Yep.
makes for a really long video.
Right.
So before we sign up for, I want to talk about this and I want to talk
Yeah.
about that, I wonder if it makes sense to have an opportunity for the committee to discuss, are these the topics that we think
Right.
ought to be covered?
Yeah, and so absolutely. So all of the things that are in here right now are all of the topics we had laid out 2 meetings ago. So, and like I said, some of the committee members that were interested in some of this information are no longer present, so it may not be the same feeling around the room of we need to also include all of this language, right? So absolutely. I think that we can go through sort of the slides and just hit the main topics. We're not going to go into any of the script today. We're going to dive through them. So if there's some areas where you feel like that's overkill for people to have to understand in order to understand the EEOAC, but we did include everything that everybody had asked for. But I would say that you're going to end up getting rid of
Yeah.
quite a bit of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, sometimes what you think about and then when you see it on paper,
Yeah.
you go, oh.
We don't need that information.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
All right, so we'll dive in, and then during each moment, if there are any questions, we're going to stop at each slide and say, is this something we should keep, or are we going to veto it? And again, the goal and purpose is to give people a sort of broad idea, a high-level intro to what is the EEOAC and what are we doing here in the county to support, right? So a lot of this stuff we do in our employee trainings, things like understanding the internal structure or understanding the county structure. So some of that information already comes to staff, but this will be outward facing in the community too. So I think that's why originally some of the staff or some of the committee members wanted to have it on there, but not necessarily needed. So we're going to go in. So we do have the county's vision and mission on here, which is just the broader San Joaquin County vision and mission, not the thing that we just worked on that we're going to update. So does everybody yay or nay? Yays for keeping the county mission on there? Yep. Okay. And we don't necessarily need that slide. I think there was some information. Oh, yeah, so what was on this slide really was just more conversation and opportunity for, this is kind of just a filler page. Really, it would be for a staff member or one of you committee members to talk about some of the county reach and some of the intros to what we sort of do here at the county.
I think you could actually use that motto as a way of linking to, as a sort of a springboard to what the EEOAC does, because part of what EEOAC's focus in creating a diverse and inclusive workplace is so that greatness can grow here within the county workforce. And so I think there might be a nice little tie-in to an existing county motto that might support kind of why we do what we do.
Yeah. And I think that kind of ties into some of the other ones also, right? So when we're talking about us, again, that's just sort of another filler page for people to be able to discuss what they need to discuss. So it would be one of your lovely faces up there talking and not an about us slide necessarily. And then we have just some demographics on here, right? So the diverse community in which we're in service to. So it gives a little bit of some of our demographics that we have. And I don't know if this one is the most recent one that we just submitted. It actually might be an older one. But this would be a page that you guys can yay or nay. Do you think that this is important to have in your EEO video?
I was concerned that the script and the numbers, the data didn't seem to match up to me.
Yep.
So we said, we're one of the most diverse places in the world, and yet when I'm looking at the numbers, in the only one where we significantly exceed the national average is in white. And so that was, did not seem to support our statement. So, I think maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, but it just struck me as odd.
Okay. As far as the data being there, though, because the script will change, right? So we're going to adapt some of the language in the script as we need to. We're not going to work on the script necessarily today.
No, understood.
But absolutely, I think that we need to make sure that it all matches up. But as far as the data is concerned, is this something that you all feel we should have in this report?
It kind of, oh, okay. Push it. As long as it still isn't reflective of the true diversity of the county and the diversity of the workforce, then it's not going to match, so. Maybe
Yes.
it would just improve our efforts to.
Yeah, it shows the work we need to do.
Exactly.
Next up, we talk a little bit just about our county, how many employees we have within our county. Does everybody feel like this is good information to have on there?
I think it's good foundational information for someone seeing this the first time.
Yeah, I don't know that we need it as a separate slide. It might fit in with when you revamp the diverse community, since you're that's just about, is it just the county or is it County of San Joaquin? Anyway, yeah, I think it's good to know that there's 7,600 employees. I don't know that we need to break it down as full-time and part-time seasonal.
And also, I would leave out that descriptor down there about ensuring diversity. Although it gives us an opportunity, but given our current data, I wouldn't point that out.
And when we break this down even further, because this is gonna be a process, right? This is probably gonna be like a 2, maybe 3 meeting process where we really finalize what we want to then go into record. But some of it doesn't even have to be a slide, right? It
Right.
could just be somebody saying this information, not necessarily a slide there. So we can
Agreed.
always choose that as well.
I don't think this is necessary personally.
Okay?
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Linda Patrick, if I understand how the statement relates to the fact that we are the largest employer. How does that help us ensure diversity standards? Right.
I think it doesn't help us ensure, but it emphasizes the importance of why we should
Right, why
have
we should.
diversity reflective of the community.
Okay.
That's what
So
I think.
changing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a side note, I think also that when you marry that slide, not this one, the one before with the 7,600 staff, and then consider the diverse community one with all the things on it, I think those are more or less aspirational goals, so maybe the aspirational aspect can be put into it.
I like it, yeah.
All right. So then we just talk a little bit about some of the responsibilities of the county itself. So some of the areas that we target when it comes to services that we're required to provide for members of the community.
I would delete this personally.
Okay? Anybody else feel delete, keep?
I don't think it's necessary.
I would
Okay.
delete.
We're saving video time already. Let's,
Did you want to share something, Sharon?
Well, no, I just thought about one of the other slides that, how does it fit? So that's why you want to tuck it.
and this next part, again, this was something that was asked, so feel free to get rid of this part, which I feel is a little overkill in my opinion. Just like your high level,
Yeah, I would get rid of that too.
a little condescending in my opinion, but neither here nor there.
So with this, I'm sorry, back with that other one, is there a better way to share the county structure, just so people understand their county government, but not necessarily this whole United States, like going to school, learning it, but just, it's something that I noticed when I was at the city, is that a lot of people didn't understand like the hierarchy or how things worked, and so it causes more work on the back end because you have to continually teach. But if we had just something, a little small graphic or something, even a little video, I think we ended up distributing out a little video of, if anybody remembers Schoolhouse Rock, after school, or like a bill on Capitol
This is a
Hill,
bill.
right? So it was
Yeah.
just a short thing, but we saw a video and it kind of showed how things work, how the Board of Supervisors and how things get to them, and then how it becomes policy or law or things like that.
So I agree that there may be people who don't understand that. My question is this the right tool for that? Because our mission in this particular video is for them to understand the EEOIC. And I'm not sure they need to understand county decision-making.
What we could do is make it more of a, here is our county, this is sort of where the EEOAC fits in, so maybe more of like a diagram chart of what the EEOAC, where it falls into the county.
Because then it's sort of advertising the EEOAC for others to come and be members and serve, so that they can know that if I come here, I might be able to influence some things that are happening at the county level.
So does it
Or
fit
just a
with
small-
this kind of diagram or with the next slide, which, if we could look at the next slide? So, which is really Board of Supervisors, County Administrator, and County Departments.
So, yeah, so maybe I was just saying, just something tight, but that just gives a little one. It could be in the triangle, or it could be in like an org chart. But so that if I came and I just looked, I could say, oh, if I was part of this committee, I might be able to influence the Board of Supervisors or speak to these things, but it doesn't have to be anything large.
And so Johanna, you're saying on this scheme here, somehow fit the EEOAC
And how-
into this with like a little sidebar box of like, maybe some brief
I'm
detail.
just saying that
about-
might be a way of
yeah.
accomplishing what not just
Not
trying
just
to
to-
accomplish.
Abe, did
Yeah,
you have
so
a comment?
even I agree, a side box.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you can even remove all the law and justice from facilities, and just have that be filled with committees and how they report up. Not sure all that's necessary, like you said, for this video, this training.
So where does the EEOAC actually fit if it was on that? Would it be a dotted line somewhere under one of those, or does it fall under Human Resources, or what does it fall under? EEO here in the county?
Well, if we look at and I believe we have a diagram in, are we able
it's a
to?
different-
It's in their packet. There's roles and responsibilities. I think it will be easier if you see a visual. There's it says.
It's a
each-
separate document that
it's a-
we're going to review
It's a
shortly.
separate
Oh,
document.
okay, that's, I'm
And
sorry.
it actually gives a kind of a chart showing the reporting structure. And so basically, the EEO office, EEOHR office, we serve as the secretary to this committee. It is, but this particular committee actually, through working with us and through our EEO plan, basically reports to the Board of Supervisors. And so there is, I would say, like a dotted line kind of to the Board of Supervisors and a dotted line to the Human Resources Department. We are the group that you would be dealing with that this group deals with in order to advise or guide, as we said in the other one, the Board of Supervisors, on things that are happening with regards to equal employment opportunity here at the county. Does that make sense?
So could we could potentially have this diagram instead of that?
We could
It's-
potentially have
we could
this
still-
diagram,
this
or
way.
I think as you guys are going to do at your June meeting, we may revise the diagram to be an accurate representation of the reporting structure, so, but something like that. I mean, I think the point is that we can always make a chart that reflects the true reporting structure.
Okay, and this reporting structure, because it shows the EEOAC reporting to the Board of Supervisors, not to go backwards, but then I think that sort of maybe there should be more in the mission statement, or no?
I think the
Because
Board of Supervisors leads the county, so I think we're still
Okay.
fine with the
Okay.
county, yeah.
So there's some information here on who the elected officials are. Again, this might be one of those areas to scrap in your poli-sci 101.
Don't think we need this.
This one shows all of our county supervisors, so it's up to you guys if this is an area that you would want to keep in describing the E EEOAC.
So will this be updated when there's new Board of Supervisors?
Right,
in the
so
video?
that would be the challenge, is that anytime then that we get new supervisors, that section would have to be spliced and re-added, which good old Robert Johnson over there has taught me this mad skills to do if needed, but would prefer not. So.
So going back to what the mission of this particular video is, which is to get them familiar with the EEOC, I would, because any video that is too long, I mean, we should be aiming for 3 minutes, 5 minutes max.
Keep
'Cause
attention.
people will tune out. And so I would say this would be something we could easily give up.
And what you can do is when it comes to, when we get to the EEOAC, you're just directing them to the web page, and you could potentially even add that to, you know, this is where you would get, if you're interested in knowing who the Board of Supervisors are, you go to this web page. If you're interested in knowing who, because you guys are all going to continue to shift and change, but the web page won't, right? So, all right. And I take no offense to scrapping anything. I gave everything that I was asked to give, which I felt like was a lot. So feel free to say, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that.
We don't need this.
Okay. All right. Yes, right. And so this was, again, just information on who the county administrator was, which doesn't really affect, all right, moving right along. We talk about all of our different departments.
Take that out.
All right, we're scrapping that too. So we're gonna make this a 30-second video. All right, and then role of the EEO office. So I'm thinking you guys wanna keep that one. And so we would discuss what the role of the EEO office actually is. So this would be the EEO office, and however we present this, we can even say like the role of the Equal Employment Opportunity Office within Human Resources to really define what we mean by EEO office in that headline. If you guys want to be specific about that, that's up to you all.
We're going to continue, EEO office continues to report to the Human Resources and the Board of Supervisors?
Correct.
Right?
So
Okay.
the EEOAC, so the EEO office is a human resources. So one of the units within human resources, one of the smaller divisions, departments within human resources, the larger department is one mini group of individuals within human resources, right? So the EEOAC is going to report to human resources through the Board of Supervisors through human resources, but the role of the EEO office that we're talking about here is human resources. So maybe we want to define that here. Next up, we have the role, oh, that S is funky. Okay, so the role of the EEO coordinators. And so this is just going to talk a little bit about what the EEO coordinators do within the different departments and some of their responsibilities around EEO for the county, which might be helpful information to have.
I think so.
Okay. They are the partners in this process, yes. And then we're going to talk about you all. So the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee, and this is really just diving into a little bit of what is the EEOAC. So it talks some about, and again, this is language that the goal of today is to sort of go through this and for you all to take back with you this document, make any modifications that you want to, changes. You're going to email them to us so that we can update it and submit it again for June. And it's probably going to take the next 2 or 3 meetings where we really start to sort of finalize. But this is just the first intro of this is some of the stuff that was asked for us to bring to discuss. But we want you to dive into the language and sort of really own what's being put out there for your committee.
Are we going to receive an electronic copy of this?
We can send it PowerPoint so that you can modify it if you want to, but it was sent in the packet.
Okay.
But you can't modify the one in the packet, so we can send one that you can modify better. So this talks a little bit about the EEOAC, and again, I'm sure that you're going to want to change some of this language in here. And then we'll add the new mission language there. So I think that's an important piece to keep in there. So we'll add the language that we just approved today in your update. And then the role of the EEOAC. So what are some of the responsibilities that you all hold? And these pages came from this page, as well as the one for the EEO office, and the coordinators all came from that document that we're going to dive into a little bit later. So some of that language may change as we workshop that document as well for the roles and responsibilities. Then we talk a little bit about committee structure here. And one of the things, when we get to the roles and responsibilities conversation, is there's not a lot of information around the different requirements or expectations of committee chair, vice chair, secretary. So what we're hoping is to really be able to develop some of that language when we get to that part. But that's something that we want to sort of define here, because if I'm an individual interested in stepping into a committee chair role or a vice chair role, I want to know what the expectation is for that particular role or position. So are we in agreement that we want to keep this, or?
I hate to be the contrarian, but, so I think it depends on who your audience is.
Okay.
So if your audience is to introduce people to the understanding what the EEOAC is, I don't think this is necessary. If your audience is prospective committee members, and that's your primary goal, then yes, this is necessary. I don't think that's our primary goal here. So I would say this would be something we could sacrifice fairly easily. This is something that should be in place for, as part of a new committee member orientation, but not so much for a, hey, this is what the EEOAC is and what they do. That's just my opinion, though. The other committee members may disagree with me, which is fine.
Guess I can go back and forth either way. I'd say maybe we keep it for now, and if we need to kind of remove it due to time, if it's too long, then we can kind of consider removing it.
Additionally, I feel like some of this is like overlapping, like you said before, maybe it's not in the video, but it's on the website. So maybe we can take those things that we don't think are necessary for the video, but are necessary information, additional information, and just have it like right next to it if you want to know more.
Yeah,
So
that's a great
depending
idea. Yeah. Or just, yeah, on the web page, it would make perfect sense for this to be on the web page someplace, yeah.
And then is the video going to be kind of fun, or is it going to sort of be like these slides? It's so much information.
First of all, my slides are fun. Second of
Sorry,
all,
no, they're very informational.
well, I mean, I think that the whole goal, even when I train, I never read from my slides. They're just there for somebody to be able to look at. But really, these slides are kind of placeholders for you guys sort of talking anyways. It's
Okay.
not going to just be slide, slide, slide. There might be a few slides so that people can see a visual here and there with your voice in the background, and some of it will just be you speaking live in that video. There will be a combination of all of that, right? So.
That's all I was saying. Your slides are fun.
Okay.
I love the animation on them. It's just
I
fabulous.
mean, right? So then we talk about some committee responsibilities, and again, there's two ways we could go about this here, right? They could very easily be two separate videos where we say one is your sort of welcome to the committee. This is your roles and responsibilities. This is, the chair, vice chair. These are the commitments that you have to make as a committee member. And that could be its own separate little 2-minute video, right? Or interested prospects, this is what you're looking at. And then there's just for general public knowledge. Because I feel like one of the things that we do want to be mindful of is that, yes, while we want to be informational, we're constantly in a state of recruitment also, right? So we do want to have that opportunity to be able to bring individuals in to join the committee. So we could possibly have a combination of things where there's space on a web page that says, if you want to know more, click here, and there's things they can read, or there's a separate video that's, if you're interested in becoming a committee member or you've just joined, watch this video. And then there's, if you're just interested in understanding what we do, then there's this video.
I like the idea of the two videos because I don't know how long the attention span for the general
Yeah.
public will be with so much detail on the one video.
Okay. And we can, as we're going through this too, I can break it out into two sections when we send it back out to you guys so that you can see, like, this would be more for the welcome video or intro video, and this would be for the high level. Okay. So then again, this talks about the meeting structure, which might be in that second video, right? Or the first video, because if you're talking about what are we in the EOC, people might want to know where to go to get this information, or it can be a part of that for more information on when and where we have our meetings. So I will leave that to you all, because one thing I would say about putting this in a video is that if it changes, then you have to change that for meeting times and dates.
So as an option, you might say, we meet bi-monthly. For the schedule, visit our
Exactly.
webpage.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, here you can direct them to the EEO calendar on that same page as well, right? Here is an area to discuss the EEO plan. I think that is just my humble opinion, and you guys can do with this information what you will, but you can't really discuss the EOAC without talking briefly about the biggest thing that you are helping to support, which is the EEO plan. So there would be some language in there around that. Any objections to keeping that in the main video? Okay. One of the other things that was asked was to really dive into a little bit more detail on the Civil Service Rule 20, because that is one of the big things that the EOAC helps to guide or hear about in these meetings. So that could be something that goes into that second video of, if you're a committee member. I don't know how much the general public who's just wanting to understand what the EOAC does needs to really understand about the Civil Service Rule 20 process. But if you are a committee member, you should have that information. So that could be something for that second video. Again, just my opinion, but I will let you guys choose. Any thoughts on that one?
I agree with you. I think that, that it could just end up being more confusing for the general public.
Maybe what we, because this is, I was just thinking about, okay, if our mission is to, partner with the county in, I don't remember all the words yet, but basically, attracting and retaining a workforce that reflects our diverse community, part of how we fulfill that mission is the highlights of the plan. And part of how we fulfill that mission is also overseeing, like, when issues do come up, being sure that there is a process by which employees can raise those issues and have a fair hearing. And not necessarily go into all this stuff about Rule 20, but that's part of how we fulfill our mission. It's like we do the attraction as documented in the EEO plan, and this is part of retention.
Yep.
To ensure that we're holding, the county is holding itself accountable for being a workplace where people want to be,
So speaking of it in the first video as just a two-part, the EEO plan, and we also have this other process where we oversee, known as the Civil Service Rule 20 process, without going into it, but just kind of coaxing through it and saying, and that's how.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
issues do arise, the committee oversees the Civil Service Rule 20, where, employees who feel that they have been discriminated against in some way have a process for working that out. You know, because you'll also address that as part of your EEO coordinators, because that's where the informal process starts. So
Right.
again, that's part of the retention piece. So I think if we just tie it in at a very high level,
Yeah.
I agree, Johanna, and if we're taking any motions, I'm making a motion that you just artfully say that the same way in the
Right.
video. That was perfect. It was perfect, and then having the extra information either on the website or in the second video, or, yeah.
thank you.
So she just nominated you to talk about the EEO plan and civil service rules, if you didn't catch that. Johanna. All right. So next is just sort of a resource page, right, where we can talk about the areas that they can go to get more information.
And then getting back to the point you made earlier, Oriana, about constant recruitment.
Yeah.
Is this a place where we might want to put a plug? If you'd like to
Yeah.
get involved,
Yeah.
here's how you apply.
Mm-hmm. The end.
Thank you for this, Oriana. This is great. You captured everything, and you really skillfully went through it so that we could kind of start to narrow things down. So thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you for your feedback on it too. So if anybody else has anything to say on it, but I will work on it so that when we reintroduce it at the next one, we'll have it broken down into 2 different videos with some additional documents that would be alongside it, that will help to then dive more and more into some of the language from there.
For feedback, I know you're going to send out the PowerPoints.
Yes.
Do you want that feedback by a certain date?
Great question, Abe. Thank you. We like deadlines. The next meeting is, what month are we in right now? April? So the next meeting is June. So I would say it's not quite maybe May 15th. Is that like a Saturday or something? It's May 15th. Oh, May 15th is a Monday, so let's call it the day after Mother's Day. Gifts for me. So we'll call it May 15th.
Perfect. So do we have any additional discussion or any questions? Hearing none, we'll go into diversity luncheon. Oriana and I met on March 21st to discuss a diversity event. We know that that has been greatly successful in the past, and a lot of us were sad that COVID came and kind of sidetracked it, and then we had a virtual one. But amongst us today, we'd like to determine a few things, and one of those being if we would like to do one this year, and if we'd like it to be in person or virtual. So I think we'll start there as far as, you know, how we feel about having one. And it's going to mean that there's going to need to be commitment from the committee to support the effort to pull it off. It's always been really great. It's been huge. And it's in partnership with the Human Resources Department. It's been at the Ag Center. And I believe the invitation goes out to all employees, to attend it. I don't know if you have numbers. Do you have a number of how many have attended maybe that last year that you were able to do it in person?
About 430 people attended the EEO lunch, the last one that we had in 2019. And the year before that, we were at about 400 people.
So I'm 100% for it. I'm a recipient of someone who is very diverse, and actually it ended up being life-changing for me. So I already have in mind who I'd like to nominate. But what do you all think about having one and having one this year?
Can you give us a little overview of what to expect? Because I have not attending.
Oh, okay. So can,
Do you want, yeah, sure.
Yes,
I'll,
please.
Thank you, unless Constance wants to. But essentially, the diversity luncheon is just a way where we try to honor individuals or department who's done something extraordinary in the way of diversity, and really just a way to honor everybody within our county at this diversity luncheon. So individuals, staff will purchase tickets to attend this event. At the event, there is a keynote speaker who speaks on the topic of diversity. We choose a theme each year. The keynote speaker speaks on diversity, and then awards are given out to a department and an individual, like I said, who's done something extraordinary in the way of diversity, that they get that award, and that's basically how the event runs. I don't really know what else.
yeah.
I guess one question I have is, what's the time commitment to pull this off? Sounds like a big event.
So some of the commitment from the committee would be to come up with a date, decide if it's in person or virtual, the theme. There would need to be some availability, but we'd work closely with Human Resources, but that would be decorations. Did we talk about decorations, help with room setup? And then also like creating flyers, just someone who's artsy to create flyers that then the county could disseminate amongst the employees. And maybe create flyers for basket donations, of which they would also be able to disseminate. They would be able to send out potentially a memo to the department heads for support from our EEO coordinators, which at the time when I worked for the county, I was the EEO coordinator, and my department head was 100% like support and do all you can to help. So, and then us, maybe if we have connections to someone who provides food, because lunch is provided.
We also,
with
on the food conversation, sorry, I know that in years past, we've also utilized the hospital. They have a catering department at the hospital, so Human Resources can help to broker some of that conversation and connect you with who you would need to talk to about those services as well. One of the other things that Human Resources would be responsible for is the ticketing. So we do charge individuals to attend the event to help support the cost of the food and some of the decorations. So we would be responsible for that in HR to ensure that individuals receive their tickets and to collect any money received from that. And again, like Naja said, one of the other areas that we would help to strongly support is sort of the connection between the link between county staff, right, and EEO coordinators. So reaching out, sending out those memos to department heads and trying to help recruit for the EEO coordinators who would be in concert with whatever members of this committee decide to be on that EEO luncheon committee, if that's what you're going to call it. That's another conversation. Is it going to be called EEO luncheon or something else?
I'm going to say this quickly just because we do have employment services here to give a presentation, and we want to make sure we allow time for them to do it. But the EEO luncheon, it is the only event that brings county employees together in one place in order to celebrate diversity. I will let you know that in anticipation of the committee making a determination that they are going to have it, we did go ahead and try to reserve a spot because we know the calendar. Typically, we will book the room on the same day we're having the event to make sure we get it. I did check into that at the Ag Center. I had Annette go ahead and book it for us, and we looked into it. And so there's only one day available. So the committee needs to know that if you're going to have it, the day is, we went ahead and reserved it. It's the only date in October, between September and November, where there are 2 days, and you need 2 days of availability side by side in order to throw the event. So it's October 26th, and the 27th would be the date of the EEO luncheon if you're going to have it at the Ag Center. Now, the reason why we've chosen the Ag Center is because in years past, it doesn't have to be your venue, is because it can hold a number of people, and they've always allowed us to use it for free, except for cleaning. Anyone else, anyplace else, there will be a charge that has to be factored in. And so they have agreed to honor the same agreement we've had in the past. The group would just have to pay for cleaning, but there is a limit now because for the rooms, and so there would be a limit of 350 people in attendance. I believe that was it, right? 350 people in attendance. So certainly you want to decide whether or not you're going to have it, but we do want to be mindful that we have a presentation that needs to happen. And so, if, you know, think about voting on that and then planning some time in the future to kind of start planning it out.
Is this something that we can do over email after? So if we can't decide right now, but we want to decide before our June meeting?
I think you'll, I mean, the room is reserved, so you still have time to decide whether or not you want to have it, but if you were going to vote today, I just wanted you to have that information. Typically, we do start planning it around April, as far as getting the committees together. We've always stayed with the same theme, we choose a different decoration scheme, but or theme, but we kind of try to keep it at there's like a general theme so that we could just adapt it. A person can use their spirit to adapt it to whatever they're feeling that at that time, what it means to them as far as a speaking point. But I think the committee could very well decide at their June meeting and still pull it off.
Okay.
But it's something you might want to vote on today, whether you're even going to move forward with it.
Okay. And also in our meeting, we did, Oriana and I did come up with maybe having 3 dedicated members from the committee to work on this. So I'll open it up for the group as far as if anyone wants to make a motion that we move forward and hold this event on October 27th.
So I think this is an event that county employees look forward to. And in the past, I think that its emphasis on diversity to me, just as an attendee, could have been stronger. I would like to see more of that. But I am happy to make a motion that we do one this year and that we do it in person. I'm fine with the 350 limit because you're not going to find a better deal on a facility anywhere. I cannot volunteer for this committee, which is why I've been a little quiet, but I don't want anybody on the committee to interpret that as I'm not in support of the luncheon. So I'll make the motion that we move forward with the luncheon at the Ag Center on the dates that on October 27th. And then we can maybe create a subcommittee that would be responsible for planning it and bringing back suggestions to the bigger committee.
Okay, thank you, Johanna. And do I have a second to continue to move forward with the plan while we get a committee and start planning?
I'd like to second the motion, and I am offering my labor. There you go. I do sit on other committees. I do chair. I think this is very important, being from the community and receiving county services. It's important. And I definitely think from COVID, the staff, they need this, just like we all need it. You know, we're coming out of COVID, so I think it's important. So yes.
Thank you. So let's finish with the motion. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed or any abstentions? Okay, so moved. And now I'd like to quickly ask, do I have any other committee members that can participate in carrying this out?
I'd like to be a part of it, but I gotta check my calendar.
Okay,
I don't have it with me.
thank you. Okay, so Sharon and Abe. And then, of course, I'll always be on somebody's committee, Constance. So, yeah.
I'll volunteer, but I
Okay.
do have a question. So are we saying that the EEOAC, are we taking the lead on planning of this event?
I really think it's just a partnership.
It is a
There's-
partnership
because they
with strong
already-
support from
yeah.
Human Resources. You know, we've always been in partnership when creating putting this on. So we have our resources, human resources, to be able to help support, so.
Yes, and they already have a framework and a foundation, so we're gonna kind of just build on what has been in the past. So, yeah, we're gonna have fun. Well, thank you so much. All right, we'll go ahead and finish that, and if we could move on to our employment services presentation from HR.
I'm gonna turn this way towards you guys. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Evening, afternoon, all right.
Hey.
My name is Michael Lee. I think I introduced myself earlier. I'm with Human Resources. I'm part of the Employment Services Unit within Human Resources. And today we're gonna talk to you a little bit about what we do and some of our efforts. You'll see Rachel behind me because she'll be taking over about halfway through this presentation. And some of the things we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna talk about our recruitment efforts, some statistics on our applications or examinations, some of the reasons our employees have been leaving county service, our future outreach, and some board strategic priorities. I want you guys to ask questions. It might be smoother to ask at the very end, but if you guys feel you have a question, please just raise your hand. We'll talk through it. Next slide. Okay, this is our departmental selection process. So depending on the type of recruitment, departments receive 5 to 10 qualified candidates to fill one position. Referrals based on demonstrated performance in the civil service exam process. Human Resources provides support and advice to departments. And all classifications require pre-employment backgrounds. Many require the pre-employment drug screen, physicals, and our DOJ live scans. Next slide. I did skip one, didn't I? I get nervous. I start talking fast when I'm talking in front of people. What are we on? We're on department selection process. I didn't talk about this one, did I? Okay, this is the review of the recruitment process. It is the goal of Human Resources to provide county departments with qualified and competent employees through well-planned, innovative, and specialized recruitment efforts. Majority of the recruitment efforts require compliance with civil service rules, as well as state and federal regulations requiring employment and hiring practices. After we work with our departments, figuring out what kind of, how long they would like to have the recruitment, what would they like to have us put in the introduction of the recruitments, possible brochures, any outreach plans. We start the recruitment. And then during the recruitment process, we look at all the applications that were submitted, who's applied. Then we start looking at our minimum quals and we screen our applicants to see who's gonna make the minimum quals. And then we have to do an examination, and then eligible candidates will be referred to the departments. And this is the one I started early, right? So just a overview again, once we send refer the applicants, depending on the type of recruitment, the departments will get 5 to 10 names per recruitment, per vacancy, and they're based on the civil service exam. And again, those are all the pre-employment screenings. Okay, so here's some of our statistics we thought would be interesting and for you guys to take a look at. This is our application statistics based on the last 3 years. And you can see overall, we've had a 14% increase in applications submitted from 21 to 22. Following the pandemic, recruitment efforts have been focused on restoring across the board services with primary needs still in emergency response, healthcare, and social services. When we were looking at this, our countywide vacancy rate was at 17.2 at the end of 22, and then we've brought it down almost a percentage, and we're currently at 16.37. And then this is interesting too, so we broke down the applications by gender. And it almost mirrors our countywide workforce, so you see males 26%, females 72%. And our countywide workforce is basically 35% males, 65% females. Another interesting application statistics. Here's our ethnicity of folks applying. So majority, you can see Asian 15%, Black African American 12%, Hispanic Latinos at 37%, white 18%, two or more races 8%. All right, I ran through that quick. I even skipped the slide and went back, so now it's Rachel coming on that. Come on now, Rachel.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Novetsky with Human Resources. A lot of new faces on the committee. Yes, you have a question.
Sorry, Rachel. You know, I noticed we have the applications by percentage broken down by different subgroups. Do you have data that shows the hire, because that's the applicants. What about the hiring? Do you have something in here that says, okay, this is how the percentages that actually applied, but this is the percentages that actually made it through the process and got hired?
We actually later, in a few slides later, we show the separations that we have percentage-wise. So what we can do is we can plan to share with the committee the percentage for the hiring as
Yeah, it'd
well.
be nice to see those side by side.
Absolutely.
Because that might tell us something.
Absolutely. Very good point. Thank you. Okay, so the next couple slides are going to talk a little bit about our Employment Services Division and some of the testing innovations that we've done since we are a merit-based county. We have civil service rules. The majority of our workforce are civil service represented positions, and so we still have certain criteria under our rules in which we need to follow in order to establish what we consider eligible lists. And so part of that is that we have, last year when we did this presentation, we had just started exploring online testing for our applicants. And so I'm proud to say that we are continuing to utilize an online examination platform. And I'm going to have some statistics on the next slide. But this platform has proven to be very beneficial from the applicant standpoint. They're able at their leisure. So we're not having to schedule and coordinate having written exam downtown where people are having to, work with finding parking, having to be in a room. We know that some individuals, we want to recognize that, some people have test anxiety, although there may be some factors, still timing, things like that are associated with exams, having the ability to take it at a time that works for you and not have to work with whether or not you need time off work if you're currently employed with another employer to take an examination, that platform has really helped in that process. So normally what we do is we have a set period of time of 5 days in which they can take the online examination. Those are typically for our general recruitments, and what I mean by that is recruitments that have a definitive final filing date. So if you've looked at our employment page recently, you see that a lot of our recruitments right now are open on a continuous basis until we can fill them. So in those cases, if we have to do online testing, we're keeping the online exam window open so that applicants can, anytime during the process of that recruitment being conducted, take the online examination. It is mobile friendly, so that was a lot of questions that we got when we surveyed applicants in regards to the ability, because we understand that even though it's an online platform, not everybody has a computer, access to a computer. The majority seem to have access to some type of mobile device. So it works to the device size. It automatically modifies itself to that. And then we also make resources still available in our office. If individuals would prefer to take it on a computer, they can schedule some time with us, and we can coordinate that for them. Okay. For oral board examinations, typically we see this when we have smaller pools and maybe more at the management level, where a multiple choice written examination may not pull out what you need as far as the knowledge, skills, and abilities for the position. So we still have the oral boards, but we have maintained the video oral board platform, which essentially means that we can now get panel members and candidates who don't need to participate in person again in our office. They don't have to coordinate trying to get down here. It's also very convenient for our panel members. It really opened up our ability to find subject matter experts to sit on our panels, because if they're coming from somewhere far away, they don't have to worry about driving to get here. And that has been really beneficial as well. Okay. And then yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
For the online testing, are there any, is there anything in place to like ensure that someone's not just looking up the answers, or?
I actually did have that later. They are unproctored, so great question. And so there, when we first embarked on online testing, especially when we knew we were going to have it in an unproctored environment, which means that there's no one on camera watching the candidate take the examination. We talked to our applicant tracking system that we work with, our outside vendor, and we did a lot of research in regards to things that you can put in place, which is you can either randomize the exams, you can also make sure that all of our exams are timed for a certain period of time, but you can also make it to where each question only has so many minutes, so that there's not enough time to Google an answer. The other thing is typically we see the online examinations used at our entry level, or more of where we normally see a larger applicant pool anyway. So it is a way to be able to establish an eligible list and process those applicants diligently. So one of the other factors that we came to was that when they get to the hiring interview level, normally we work with the department to have some kind of relevant practical exercise or desk exercise in which they can do. And then even after that, if selected, they still have a year probationary period in which the department can ensure that they are able to perform the essential functions of the position.
So quick question, just
Yeah.
to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
How do you know the person that applied is actually taking the test?
That we can't always monitor, but then that's what the other layers are for, right? So if you get all the way to the hiring interview and selected, okay, well, if you didn't take the test, you better be able to do the job.
My buddy Abe here is really smart, so he's going to take my test for me.
Exactly. No, I totally understand. We definitely did explore a lot of that when we were going in that way. Yes.
Is there any stopgap method in place for people with disabilities who may have problems during the process?
We do still, even with this platform, offer ADA accommodations. And in some cases, it's that they don't want to take the exam via online platform. And we still set up options for the candidates to take it in an online environment.
Okay.
All right. And then the last one was just that we're continuing to use training and experience ratings. So typically we see these with our smaller candidate pools. Last time I had mentioned that the civil service rule changes allowed us to departments to be eligible for more names than they were previously in regards to when we're establishing eligible lists for hiring interviews. So it's 10 or more depending on the number of vacancies that you have. So that has allowed us to be able to expand our ability to do what we considered an unassembled examination, where we are rating applicants based on the training experience to the minimum qualifications of the position. We also, in our civil service rules, have something called rule of the list, which is something we have in place for our job classifications that require specialized degrees or licensures. So like our nurses, our engineers. There isn't anything really in our civil service testing process that we know is going to test them beyond what the state, in order to license them, has processed. We also have it in for our law enforcement positions that have multiple examination hurdles where we tend to lose a lot of our candidate pool through each phase of the process because they have a physical agility, they have to go through psych background, things of that nature. So roll the list just essentially means as long as you meet the minimum qualifications of the position, you are placed on the eligible list. You are referred, all names, all qualified candidates are referred to the department for a selection interview. Okay. So the next slide just breaks down some of our statistics on what I just went over. So you can see that in 2021, we had only administered 17 online exams, and in 2022, we were up to 110. So we are still working towards making that 100% anywhere we can. So in-person written examinations, there are some that we still have to perform in person, like our state, our post exams still have to be administered in person, and so you'll still see that some of those numbers are up. Virtual oral boards, not as many oral boards, and you can see the biggest number is our training and experience that I was talking about, where we're rating based on the application or their what we call rule of the list. Okay, and this is just our civil service recruitments. This is not capturing all the part-time, temporary, all the other fun recruitments that we do. And then I just added on the bottom there that we've conducted 115 online exams since April 2022. And for those of you, since most of you are new, the reason I picked that date was because last time we did this presentation was in April 2022. So I kind of just added a little note there. And again, we are converting to work towards all of our current written exams being in an online format with the ability to continue to offer. And I had a really great conversation with Constance yesterday, and I wanted to make a point of that because as we're going towards utilizing any written exam format, whether that be online, in person, we were talking about the fact that, you know, there are a lot of individuals who just don't know what to expect with a civil service testing process. And, you know, what could we do as an employer to make sure that we're putting information out there that really explains what they could expect? I mean, you could say it's a written exam, and someone could say, well, what does that mean? Does it mean I have to do an essay? Does that mean I'm going to have to read charts? Is it multiple choice? For our environment, typically it's a multiple choice, but if you've never gone through that process before, especially if you're used to private sector employment, you're not going to be ready for that. And a lot of people haven't taken a multiple choice exam since school, you know, so so we were talking about it would be a really great resource for us to have available to applicants on our employment website, to have something that has samples of, like, here's a sample of what a civil service examination may look like, have some sample questions on there for some of our tests, so that, or even have a video that shows here's when you log into an online exam what it will look like. We already have a lot of those in place. We have a lot of links and instructions, but sometimes we know there are people who are very visual, and so it would be good to also have a video that kind of walks people through that. So we just talked about that yesterday, but I wanted to make sure I brought it up. So. And then just some statistics on the average online exam show rate. So in 2022, it was 76.94, and so far since, and then our passing rate is 80.79. I can tell you these are amazing numbers compared to when we used to do this in person. So we're very, very excited. We hope to see those numbers continue to stay above 70%.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Are you going to track long-term those that took the online exam to see if they've passed probation and kind of see if there's any correlation with, yes, 80% is a higher number that passed the online exam, and
how that correlates to actual on-the-job training. That's a good point. I know that as part of the process, what we had talked about from this committee was actually serving individuals throughout. So that could be a component that's a part of that, because one of it is we also want to make sure that and I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but we're giving our new hires, once we bring them on, the tools to actually be successful into the position. And so, and what are we doing to make sure that we're retaining once we do hire? But that would be good, because that's a good indicator as to whether or not, you know, whether or not your passing an examination is really indicative of whether or not you're successful in the job. Because as we said before, sometimes you have test anxiety. Maybe you're not a great test taker, you're a great employee, and vice versa, right? You're a horrible test taker, and, you know, or you're a great test taker and a horrible employee. So, so, yep. Okay. Okay, so I know you were all talking about your mission earlier today, but it is our goal, obviously, to make sure that our workforce is reflective of the community that we serve. And so we want to partner with the committee and with our EEO office to make sure that we're reviewing our EEO plan each time it is submitted to the board, so that we can make sure that we're constantly evaluating whether or not or how we can improve our outreach efforts. And so the current plan, although it does have the 2020 data, it looks like not much changed. We had 2010 census data we were having to work from for so long. We were hoping 2020 would show a little bit of a difference, but it didn't. So it showed that, I think it showed we were still down in Hispanic, Latino males as far as representation goes. And so the good news is overall applicant pools, we are up in all these areas. So we are seeing more Hispanic males, we're seeing more African-American males, and the only number that actually went down is we are seeing, I think we saw almost a 6% decrease in white males
Can I ask,
in applications.
is this, is that an order of the,
This is tied to the EEO plan.
Underrepresentation? But those are those in order, like Hispanic?
Of
Latinos more?
underrepresentation, yes.
So,
Hispanic males is where we're unrepresented in our workforce right now.
and we're not more underrepresented in black males?
The number has gone up. Like, we've actually expanded our workforce in that area. So that number for the 2020 census actually showed improvement based on our community.
Yeah, it would be kind of helpful on this if the 2021 numbers were there. That way you could be able to determine whether or not they actually went up or down or whatever.
Okay.
Just by looking at.
Let's have a comparator to the last time. Oh, absolutely. Yes, we can do that.
I have
Okay.
a quick
Sure.
question, comment, because when we see these statistics and when we see a summary that talks about underrepresentation, and it's broad like this, then we don't really know in what positions or what category positions that these numbers represent.
So would it be helpful to maybe pull from the EEO plan, like maybe have some, like I know the section in the EEO plan where we're gathering that information from.
So if like white males hold most of the professional positions, but overall they're
Yes.
down because they're not clerks, they're not security, so those
From our
kinds of
applicant pool.
things.
Absolutely.
It seems like we need a little more detail to really see that this information is useful.
Okay, we can do that. I know we have it all broken down by our, in the EEO plan by whether or not it's professional, clerical. And so we can certainly compare that to the recruitments that we do that fall in that category and have a side-by-side comparison of that.
Okay.
I can make a note of that for our next presentation.
So there was something else.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't see your ADA in here, folks with disabilities that are working.
The fact that we do accommodate? Yes, I can add that in there. I do a lot of verbal talking, so I apologize. I didn't put everything in the slide, but I can certainly make sure that it's a bulleted point next time.
I have another comment, and I don't know if it's appropriate right here, maybe it's coming later. But when we look at the comment, that second bullet, how you use the EEO plan to gauge where you might improve your outreach efforts. I don't know if outreach efforts are coming in a subsequent slide here, but looking at where we have the slides that have been presented so far, it talked about testing, and it seems more like people coming to you. How are you reaching out?
So that is coming in an upcoming slide.
Okay.
And I will say that our numbers overall, our applicant, they dropped substantially during COVID. I'm sure you expected that, but, and we're just now finally starting to see numbers come back up as far as applicants' interest. And so our focus has really shifted now to, okay, and how do we let people know what we do? And so that is going to be coming up in an upcoming slide.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and next time I will include the hire information as well. We had just once we have them, we wanted to have a slide that talks a little bit about retention. So we have the top 3 reasons for employee separations from January 2022 to present. So one of the things that we noticed right off the bat is that 66% of our workforce, 39.3 of that was just categorized under general resignation, which is typically, not to get too much in the weeds, but we have a lot of payroll codes or reasons that people can separate from the county, and there's one very generic resignation. And so we are working with our departments to really hone in as to why individuals are leaving us, whether that's accepted other employment or dissatisfied with job or, dissatisfied with hours or childcare, things of that nature. We want to really get to the nitty-gritty of that. Another part of that is really making our exit interview process electronic. Right now it's I think it's still paper. So we're trying to make it to where it's user-friendly for our employees that are going out, that they can submit that information to us. Not all employees who are leaving the organization explain to their management or their department as to why they're leaving the county. Usually they like to give that information just to HR, and our exit interview process would be coming from Human Resources, coming back to that. Not only would we get the ability to, based on the responses, to be able to understand truly why we're losing or not able to retain, but it also gives us an opportunity, especially if we're seeing trends with particular departments or what have you, to also reach out to those county departments and provide some guidance where we can in regards to the feedback that we're getting from former employees, whether that be, setting management up to be able to understand how they set their staff up for success, and and what type of promotional opportunities could potentially be considered within the department, the growth. So we are looking into that. And 12.65% was due to retirements, and that's, like, for us, that's a really huge number. So we saw a substantial number of retirements. HR personally experienced it. I can tell you right now that out of our employment services team, 70% right now are brand new staff. So, and that's just in our employment services. So we saw a lot of retirements. Okay. And then, so I know we have the ethnicity breakdown. We also have gender. I do see where, you may be looking, female, 71% lost. That is actually over 70% of our workforce is female also. So it kind of balances out. I know it still looks like a very high number, but it's because our workforce is actually very prominently female.
Question?
Yes.
Here you're addressing the top 3 reasons for employee separation. I'm glad to see that it's not one of the top 3, but I would be interested to know about the involuntary separations.
Oh.
Are they figured in these statistics?
It is.
Here?
It is not, but it is I have it. It's 0.11.
Thank you.
Yeah, very small.
0.11 overall.
For this period of time, 2022 to present, yes. And that's disciplinary. And then release during probation, so they were unsuccessful in their probationary, was 3.63.
Do we have a category for abandonment, job abandonment?
Job abandonment? Yes, 2.86. See, these are all the codes we want everybody to use, so we have a better picture.
Okay. Oh, can I ask you,
Yes.
when you have ones that are like released from probation, is there any way to look at ways to, let me see if I can think of the question I want to ask, is just that we hire someone and go through all of the onboarding and everything and then lose them during, do we go back and look at any way that we could maybe head that off, like potentially somebody else took the test, right? And then you have this person, do we?
Yes, we actually, under our civil service rules, it talks about during the probationary period, we have three evaluation periods in which are supposed to be done, 4, 7, and 11-month evaluation. And so we really encourage departments to make sure that one, upon hire, that we're making sure that the expectations of the position are clearly laid out. And then two, obviously, that we're making sure that we're providing the tools for the employees to be successful in regards to meeting those expectations. And so once we have the 4-month evaluation, you have a general gauge and things that you need to be working on. So what we're looking for in human resources is through those tiered processes that the department is demonstrating that they've been working with them. When we see, and we do on occasion, see where those evaluations were not done consistently, HR likes to engage with the department further and as early as possible to figure out what conversations have you been having with the employee, because in the probationary period, especially if you're not a permanent civil service employee, which means you don't have permanent status, you didn't just promote into a new position, you're probationary there. They don't have any property rights or appeal rights under our civil service rules. And so they have appeal rights potentially outside, right? So we want to make sure that it is a job-related reason, no matter what, as to why it was not a successful fit.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, so looking to the future of outreach. So social media branding, we are still looking to expand that. We're working pretty closely with our county administrator's office. We want to increase our social media efforts. I know the sheriff's back there, so I'm going to pick on them. They have an amazing outreach social media platform. We want to be like them someday. But we want to partner with our larger departments, such as sheriff probation, in which we're able to get to that same level and make sure that we're getting information out there. And so we recently acquired in human resources utilizing Canva, which is just a platform in which it gives us endless, basically templates specifically for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. It allows multiple ways for us to format things that are social media friendly. It also provides templates that'll allow us to have more engaging brochures. So we're all looking to have that to be more of a Greatness Grows Here, try to really hone in on our brand. And I just gotta say, it's, especially having all these brand new staff that we have in employment services right now, we recently had a meeting and the ideas that were flowing out of them was just incredible. And I mean, I can't wait to show you if we can make it come to fruition, but we're really trying to hone in on that Greatness Grows Here. We even talked about the fact that it'd be great if some of our job classification career tracks had like the tree, and the trunk was the name of the classification, and the branches branch out to all the different type of career opportunities and growth that you can have within that career path. And so we're very excited. So. And we have established a partnership with our E2D, Economic and Employment Development Department. We call it E2D2, I'm sorry, WorkNet, where we have a job fair that is county employer specific. At least twice a year right now is what we're working on. We just had our first one back in November, where we invited all of our county departments to come out, and it was specific to, anybody could come in, and it was a job fair, but it was just county departments. And we're getting ready to do another one on May 4th, if any of you are interested in coming. It sounds like we're going to theme it Star Wars-ish, so may the 4th be with you. But we're looking forward to that, and we've had a regular, we've worked with the director of WorkNet to make sure that we have that continued partnership. And she's also working with the employment workforce development to see how we can be more involved in other outreach efforts that they do in regards to that. We like to partner with our Child Support Services Department regarding their Backpack Day event. We want to be more visible and increase our awareness of our internships. We've had some amazing internships and apprenticeship programs that have been successful. So I'm just going to give a shout out to Oriana here, because she worked on one recently for our Information Systems Department for Information Systems Specialists. And this was an opportunity for existing county employees who had no experience in this field whatsoever to participate in this apprenticeship program and learn more about IT. And ultimately, it resulted in them being able to get positions in that department. It was very successful, so we're looking to continue that in our analyst level and healthcare opportunities. Okay, and then... All right, so Our Board of Supervisors also have been working with our county departments in regards to board strategic priorities. And so they have a period of time, 2022 to 2025, in which they've asked county departments to have these goals, what they call SMART goals, so specific, memorable, attainable, realistic, or measurable, I'm sorry, not memorable, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals during this period of time. And priority number one is organizational capacity and technology utilization. So we want to make sure that through that, we're partnering with our county departments to improve recruitment and retention efforts and get that recruitment vacancy rate down. We want to formalize our succession planning process. Again, it goes back to that greatness grows here. How do we let both the community and our existing employees know what their career opportunities are here? You know, we were talking about earlier, that we are the largest employer for the county, and I don't think a lot of people know that. In our colleges, our universities, we want to make sure that they're aware, like, you want to be an engineer, we have engineer positions. You want to be, you know, deputy, we have a sheriff's department. So, and we really are trying to make sure that we partner with our departments in regards to that. We've taken this focus to start with why. So why should you work for the county? You know, a lot of our employees, you know, when you actually talk to them, and the ones that, especially our long-term that have been here for a while, it was because they felt a need to give back to their community, right? They felt a need to provide services. It's not necessarily, you know, the paycheck or whether or not you can telework, although those are great things. Most people in government, it's because they have that calling. And so we're trying to make sure that we're switching our focus in our outreach efforts to really say the start with why. Why do you want to work for the county? What do we offer? And how can we keep you? Okay. Any other questions?
I do. I don't know if it's appropriate because this is my first time sitting here and I still have a lot to learn, but is it possible to get a better breakdown of your full-time, seasonal, and your seasonal?
For recruitments or?
Yes, to get more of a breakdown because it looks like you just lumped it all in. And for someone like me in processing, I need to look at part-time percentages, full-time percentages, and seasonal, and then lump it in.
Absolutely.
Again, with the disabilities accommodations.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. What is your church? So if there's a vacancy, and I'm gonna use the sheriffs, I just need to ask this question.
Yeah.
So let's say the sheriffs have a vacancy. How long is your turnaround to fill that vacancy?
It does depend on the position.
Don't laugh. I gotta.
And it depends.
I'm just really curious. Is there like a time frame, like 2 weeks, where you need to fill it? It could go on a month. Because it also
Well, there's a couple of factors, right? When a department submits a request to fill a position, usually the first step is for us to, that's the kickoff point. And then Human Resources then evaluates whether or not we have existing eligible lists for those positions. So I talked about earlier when we establish a civil service eligible list, those lists are good for 9 months. So when someone is successful and they get on a list with a score and a rank, they're on that for 9 months or until the list expires, or if they fall off for any, you know, maybe no longer being interested. So there are instances where the turnaround is very quick because we have a fresh, good list, and we certify to departments. They interview. From there, it does depend on what other hurdles are. So since you're using sheriff as background, they have the back, you know,
that was done innocently, folks. That was done innocently.
But normally we have countywide. We have a general countywide process, which typically has a 24 to 48 hour typically turnaround time. But there's also a pre-employment drug screen. Some positions require a DOJ live scan. So in totality, usually the pre-employment steps, so long as the applicant is timely in getting the information they need to get into us to so that the background can be conducted, that it's usually 3 to 5 days. But there are some classifications that we have what we call an arduous physical, which means that it's been determined by our Civil Service Commission to have to be arduous in nature, and so they have pre-employment physical steps that they need to do in order to have a clearance in order to perform the essential functions of the position. So depending on what those steps, for a lot of our law enforcement departments, that, you know, requires a post-required examination and a stress test. So those can take a few weeks as well. So overall, I would say our goal, like start to finish, would be within 30 to 45 days. We're trying to get that number down much more. But again, like for our part-time seasonal, where we don't have to do a civil service examination process, as soon as a recruitment closes, and we've determined who meets the minimum qualifications, we can refer those individuals to department, and it can be a very quick turnaround within 5 days.
So may I ask another question?
Sure.
So let's just say you have 30 people for, we'll say, a social worker's position, eligibility worker, Medi-Cal. You have 30 people. So this is your pool that you can pull from. So do you get down to 15 and then you turn around and you re-advertise into the community that how do you keep that pool going to where you have a good selection, to where it doesn't get down to like 5?
We do evaluate that, and we on the regular, we actually review the eligible list. We send the eligibles notification saying, are you still interested in remaining on the list? Monthly, we're looking at that. If it doesn't look, if we're getting down very close to exhausting the eligible list, knowing that we're going to have to fill eligibility worker, usually we get a request to fill 30 at a time. So we're gonna know we need to recruit in anticipation of that. And we always have our departments, as soon as they know they're gonna have a vacancy to fill, to not wait. Sometimes we'll run into instances where they wait till the position's actually vacant. But if someone's given notice, things like that, we wanna make sure that they're going ahead, especially if they know there's a need or if it's a difficult to fill position, we wanna make sure that we're putting that, they're submitting their request to fill as soon as possible so we can start our recruitment planning. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Michael.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
We really appreciate that presentation and the information that you presented. Thank you.
And I thank you for all the feedback. We'll make sure we incorporate a lot of that into our next year's presentation.
Awesome.
So, thank you.
Thank you. We are running over on time. Oriana, if you could
Quickly,
quickly go through the.
Yep. So one of the things that we talked about was the discussion on start time and duration of EEOAC meetings. I know there was a request to make it shorter, and I advised at the last meeting that we're getting into the good stuff, so we should keep the time as it is, because as you can see, we are now over. So on to the next one, the homework, EEOAC roles and responsibilities. You all received this packet on the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee roles and responsibilities. Your homework assignment on this one is to review it, bring it, get it back on around that, we'll call it May 15th again. So your homework for June is all due May 15th. You're gonna review it, add any roles for the chair, vice chair, or language that you feel should sit there, update any scripts to include any info, or if there is any information gaps in here that you feel are missed or would be helpful or useful for somebody taking a look at this for the first time. So really, it's a matter of you reviewing it, trying to see if you understand what it is, and if you have questions about it, we'll discuss it in the June meeting.
Perfect, thank you. And it looks like Johanna is on here for a recommendation for continuation of the EEO Plan Subcommittee. Can we go ahead and still do that?
Yeah, there's enough of you.
So that committee consisted of Linda, myself, and Johanna. We would like to continue to work on, we're just looking at the EEO plan and going through and looking at ways that we can make recommendations to the larger group on things that were mentioned, like easier to understand the data, side-by-side comparisons, things like that. So I'd like to get a motion for that, but I'd also like to open it up if anyone else, we have new members here, if anyone else would like to be a part of that committee, we would love to have you join us.
Yeah, I don't mind being part of that committee.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else?
I like to think I'd like to attend a couple of meetings
Okay.
first. Thank you.
No, that's great. Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion? Well, I guess I'll make a motion for us to continue, if I can get a second.
Linda Patrick, I second.
Thank you. I'm sorry, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, June 7th at 3 p.m. same place, same location, same room. Thank you so much for today, and meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.